Hello again, I'm Joshua Smythe, and I thought I'd bring you another update to Treasure Hunters. This time I'm going to talk a bit about the combat, I'm going to show a little bit of combat, and then I'm also going to cover a little bit about the data editing system that we use. So if I just hit a button and go into combat, you can kind of see there's this first person kind of view, which is kind of stolen, ripped off, whatever you want to call it, from the likes of Dragon Quest or Fantasy Star or Etrian Odyssey. So this is pretty common in Japanese style role-playing games, this perspective. Not so much in the Final Fantasy series, but I happen to like this particular view, especially because Fantasy Star makes use of it, which was really the core game that inspired me to create this game. So we're just gonna choose some attacks and kill all these little bunnies. They're pretty weak creatures. So after choosing all your attacks, it just plays out a round. Come on, kill the guy. Excellent, and we've beaten them all up. So let's go into combat one more time. And we've got our bunnies back again. So you can see at this top bar we've got attack, defend, use magic, use skill, and use items, or run away because we're cowards. But we're not cowards, so let's attack these bunnies and let's try to use like a magic spell. We've got sort of like healing and some buffs, and mass pestilence, which is a lot of fun. So I'm going to hold off on attacking just because I want to show off the mass pestilence. So we're going to work a little bit on the effects and things because it's really important to have a really nice combat system where it's not too not too slow, and kind of you can kind of see what's sort of going on. We have no sound effects at the moment as well, which really makes a difference. So Rosalind is poisoned at the moment. That's not cool. So let's. Do we have a cure poison? Yeah, let's. She can use a cure poison spell, and let's just kill these bunnies. Oh, didn't even get a chance to use it. So that's a quick look at how combat works. So let's just go over to the data editing system. So here's our custom editor tool, which you can edit all the data for all the items and characters and whatnot in the game. I thought I'd show very briefly, hopefully, how we use this to kind of drive the combat forward. So here's a pretty standard like character sheet where you've got your agility and luck and stuff, and then these characters can have like bonuses which you can use to make specific for that particular character. Like someone might have just a whole bunch extra HP for no particular reason that's not derived from their stats, but it's just a bonus to them, whether it's an additive or a multiplicative bonus. And then they might have certain defenses against certain types of attacks. So every single attack has sort of like a type associated with it, whether it's physical or magic or fire or whatever. This is used more commonly in the monsters because it makes sort of sense for fire elementals, for example, to be just immune to fire and like weak to water or something. So our monsters here kind of very similar, but they have a probability of like causing a status effect. So these bunnies have a 50% chance of poisoning their enemy. That doesn't actually make sense for the bunnies. It's just kind of put there as a test, and then you can see that they've kind of got their like weakness, strength chart. Banshees have like some spells, and then they have some skills. The AI is really simple. It's just a probability of doing these different things. Again, super simple. It doesn't even like evaluate how good that action is. It just says, should I attack? I have a 20% chance of attacking. Oh, okay, well, go to the next thing. I have a 0% chance of doing that, 0% chance of doing that. That's probably should be 40. I don't know why it's 39. There might be some rounding error going on there. And then the bunnies, like, they just always attack because that's what they do. We've got classes. Classes and races don't have any kind of buffs or abilities at the moment, but they are used in the component restrictions. Sorry, not component restrictions, equipment restrictions. So we've got armor and boots and weapons, and they have their components that multiply like the stats, and then okay, you have to be minimum level 5, and you have to be a human traveler to be able to wear the heavy leather armor. Light armor has no restrictions. These are mostly just sort of tests, all these kind of items, to get a good representation of the types of things that will go into the final game. The status effect stuff is probably the most complicated section to talk about, and there are three types of status effects. There's just like a single use, so you can see like cure or revive from the dead or what have you. Ailments and boosts, which are basically buffs or debuffs. And then there's the component system, which really makes up the status effects. There are like 9 or 10 odd different components, and each status effect can have 3 components that kind of really defines what that status effect does. So if I just pick something, let's go to poison, because we've already seen that our poison will be an ailment. So poisoned damages your energy and it damages your health. So I could choose it. Maybe it could damage mana, which I think is what mana leak does. Yeah, mana leak damages your mana for 10% every turn. So poisoned damages your health 2% every turn, and the type is poison damage. So some characters might have an immunity to poison. A cure-all removes all elements from the character. Likewise, I could grant an immunity, which would be a buff. So physical immunity, okay, just makes it immune to physical stuff. You can kind of see, you can mix and match a whole bunch of components together to create a whole bunch of different types of effects. So here we go. Okay, strong constitution removes the plagued and removes the poisoned status effect from that character. So if anyone gets strong constitution, they are then, actually that should be immunity, not removal. So grant immunity to these things, and if anyone has that status effect on them, they're just not going to be affected by the 2 other status effects, which are poisoned and plagued. So skills come in 2 different types. They're passive or active. Auto is kind of passive. You just like get these kinds of abilities. And invoke is you select it from the list. Concentrate does the concentrate effect at 100% probability. Concentrate is a boost, which adds 2 to your magical offense. So you can see there's a lot of different ways of just combining stuff. And hopefully that gives you sort of like a taste for how we compose all the different items and objects in the game. So these kinds of items, like these consumables, like the heals, they cause status effects again. So you can kind of see like an item or a skill or a spell is composed of status effects. Those status effects are composed of components, and if there's anything that we want to do in the game which is not really supported, we can create a new component to support that. But I feel like I've got a very good coverage of all the different components and how they can combine in different ways to get the effects that we need. So cheers, thanks for watching, I hope to see you in the next video update.